Hi, I'm Rick. Welcome to the Campfire. As you prepare to listen to my story, let's take a moment to get comfortable and settle in. Close your eyes. I want you to take a deep breath in. Hold it for a moment. As you slowly exhale, feel your body relax and release all of your tension. Now, imagine yourself sitting near a campfire at the edge of a beautiful, serene ocean. You can feel the cool breeze gently blowing against your face. You can hear the waves crashing against the shore, creating a soothing and calming sound. As you sit by the fire, you can feel the warmth of the flames radiating towards you, giving you a sense of comfort and safety. The sound of the waves and the crackling of the fire blend together in perfect harmony, creating a symphony of calm. As you gaze out at the ocean, you can see the waves rolling in, each one unique and different from the last. Some are small and gentle, while others are powerful and majestic. You feel the power of the ocean, and it fills you with a sense of awe and wonder. As you watch the waves, you notice how they come and go, just like the thoughts in your mind. Allow yourself to let go of any thoughts or anxiety that are lingering. Instead, focus on the sound of the waves, the warmth of the fire, and the sound of my voice. As you sit there enjoying the peace and serenity of your surroundings, begin to feel your body becoming more relaxed. Begin to feel your mind becoming more calm. The soothing sounds of the waves and the warmth of the fire help you release any tension or anxiety that you're holding on to. Allow yourself to enter into a state of complete calm. As you continue to sit by the fire, watching the waves roll in and out, you begin to feel a sense of gratitude for the beauty and tranquility of the ocean. Allow yourself to bask in the warmth and comfort of the fire. Feel it fill you with a sense of comfort and safety. Take a moment to appreciate the peaceful energy of the ocean and the fire. Allow yourself to feel grateful for their presence and the peace and calm they bring to your body and your mind. As you sit there feeling more relaxed and at peace, you feel a sense of serene calm wash over you. Your mind is becoming free of worries and anxiety. The fire and the ocean are a comforting presence, lulling you into a peaceful slumber. Allow yourself to drift off to sleep with the warm and comforting images of the fire and the ocean in your mind and my voice in your ears. Feel your body sinking deeper into relaxation. Your mind begins to slow down. Now that you're calm and settled in, let's begin our story. Once upon a time, the youngest son of a king was eager to leave his home and explore the rest of the world. He got his father's permission to leave, kissed his parents goodbye, mounted his black horse, and galloped away down the high road. Soon the gray towers of the old castle where he was born were long out of sight. The prince kept traveling, spending his days on the road and his nights in small inns along the way, until one day he was in the middle of the mystical mountains. The big red granite cliffs of the surrounding peaks stuck up like ugly fingers out of the bright snow, and the slopes of the huge glaciers sparkled like rivers of diamonds in the sun. The prince sat down next to some short trees whose tops had been broken off by a long-ago avalanche, and he started to eat some bread and cheese he had brought with him. During this time, the black horse ate the grass that grew along the mountain path. While the prince was sitting there in the bright sun and the quiet of the mountains, he heard a low, steady roar. The prince thought to himself, "There must be a waterfall nearby. I'll go check it out." So, after taking another look at his horse, which was happily eating grass, the prince climbed up the side of the mountain toward the sound. The prince kept climbing and going in different directions, but the sound never got louder or softer. Suddenly, he saw that there was no way back. The little path that he had ridden up was gone, and he had no idea where it went. He called out, but only the mocking echoes of the mountain came back. When it got dark, the prince hid behind a big rock. He worked hard all day the next day to find the path, but to no avail. He got very cold and hungry. He could hear the waterfall roaring every now and then. It seemed to be getting louder. First one day came, and then another. He was getting weaker and weaker. He knew he was getting close to the mysterious waterfall because the water was making a huge roar that could be heard everywhere. The third night came, and the full moon rose over the lonely, mystical mountains with their snow-covered peaks. The prince was walking around in the dark when he stumbled through a narrow passageway between two broken rocks and came face to face with the mystery. He stood on the snowy floor of a huge amphitheater surrounded by giant mountains with steep sides. Far away from him and opposite the moon, the wall of the bowl looked like a huge black cliff whose top seemed to reach almost to the stars. Over this cliff, a wide river kept pouring, shining in the dark like the overflow of an ocean of molten silver. Even though he was hungry and dizzy, the prince made his way to the edge of the foaming and eddying lake where the water was falling. Great was his surprise to discover that the overflow of this lake disappeared into the earth through a long, low opening in the cliff behind the falls. Even more surprising was the strange, multicolored light he saw burning inside the cave. The prince walked toward the light along a narrow beach of white sand that was between the wall of the cavern and the rushing water of the mysterious river. He found that the light was coming from a beautiful lantern made of emeralds, topaz, amethysts, and rubies, and was hanging from the roof of the grotto by a chain. A small boat with a lantern on the bow was drawn up on the sand right under this lantern. The prince pushed the boat into the river, got in, and was quickly carried away by the strong current. At first, the cavern grew bigger and taller. Then it shrank again, and the boat shot down a rocky tunnel into the center of the earth at a very fast speed. The passageway opened up again, and the boat moved slowly through huge caves with twisted columns on the roofs that were taller than the tallest tree. There were times when everything was so quiet that the prince could have easily imagined himself back in the mountains. Other times, the underground river roared and foamed so loudly that the prince was worried he was getting close to a subterranean waterfall. Lots of time passed. The prince had no idea if it was day or night. At last, he fell asleep as the boat moved through a large hall. When he woke up, the boat was floating on the black, glassy surface of a huge underground ocean. There were no more signs of the cave. Over the edge of this ocean, in a place where there were no stars, a strange, beautiful light rose up into the sky. And while the prince was gazing at the glow, the boat swung into a new current and was borne swiftly toward the light. In a short amount of time, the light grew bigger and brighter, until it looked like a golden sun had come up. The boat went between two huge marble pillars that held huge crystal globes filled with golden fire. When the prince got off the boat, he was in the harbor of the Firefly's domain. He saw a strange golden city on the edge of a large bay. Because in the center of the earth there is neither sun nor moon, people have to be continuously burning lights. And so many and so great were the lanterns that the town was as bright as day. There was a row of golden lanterns along the edge of the harbor. There were huge lanterns every 6 paces along the streets. Every house had a lantern hanging from it. Instead of bells, the church towers had big golden lamps that lit up everything for a long way around. Also, everyone who lived in the Firefly's domain carried a lantern with him wherever he went. The rich carried golden lanterns with clear precious stones set in them, while the poor carried simple glass lights. Soon a beautiful ship came out to meet the prince. The front of the ship was made to look like the head of a dragon, and a beautiful lantern hung from its mouth. The poor prince was so hungry and tired that he passed out on the floor of his little boat. When he woke up again, he was lying in a big 4-poster bed in a room in the royal palace. The sheets were made of the softest, whitest linen. The prince recovered quickly because his hosts were so kind. When he was back to being himself, the princess of the Fireflies asked him to come see her. The princess sat on an ebony throne. She was a very pretty young woman who wore a beautiful lantern crown. On each side of the throne stood a tall, scarlet-clad soldier holding a long ebony staff, topped with a golden firefly-lit lantern. The prince got down on one knee and thanked the princess for being so kind and welcoming. "You are the first stranger to visit the Firefly's domain in 1,000 years," said the young princess. "If it's not too much to ask, please tell me how you found the river of the underworld." So the prince told her he was the son of a king, and told her about his adventures in the mountains. You can be sure the princess was glad to hear of his royal birth, for she had fallen in love with him at first sight. A month passed. The prince remained a guest in the palace. All kinds of festivities were given in his honor. There were wonderful dances, masquerades, picnics, and theatricals going on all the time. One day, the prince and the princess rode to the edge of the Firefly's domain with a small group of courtiers. The lovers galloped ahead of the party and reached a little hill beyond which there was no more light. Ahead of them, the rolling land got darker and darker as it moved away from the light and deeper into the underworld, where it would stay dark forever. The prince saw that the princess was crying when he looked at her. "My love, why are you crying?" asked the prince, who was sad to see tears in the beautiful eyes of his lady. "I weep to think that in spite of our love, we must soon part forever," said the princess. "Part forever? Dear lady, what can you mean?" said the anxious prince. "A cruel fate awaits us," the woman said. Know, dear prince, that I am engaged to be married to the wizard Merrick, and that he will come here to claim my hand in exactly 8 days." "Who is the wizard Merrick?" asked the prince. "Unfortunately," the princess said, "the wizard Merrick is the strongest magician in the whole underworld. He's 8 feet tall, has cruel eyes that are sunken and burn like dull fires, and only wears black. We met at the king of the goblins' ball. Merrick followed me around and praised me. A few days afterwards, an iron boat arrived in the port of the Fireflies, having on board a giant blue dog who is Merrick's younger brother. This terrible animal, which scared the people of the Fireflies' domain so much that they ran away screaming, came to the palace and dropped a jeweled casket at my feet. Merrick asked for my hand in marriage and said that if I didn't give it to him, he would send demons and winged spirits to attack the people of the Fireflies' domain. I had a vision of the people of the Fireflies in darkness, of my poor subjects dying of fear and starvation. I took the wizard because I didn't want this vision to come true. Soon I won't see you again, because Merrick will come and take me to his horrible castle on an island in the middle of the ocean. Merrick has so enchanted the waves that when a boat comes close to his enchanted castle, a terrible whirlpool forms on the water and swallows it." "But I can fight Merrick," said the prince, like the brave young man that he was. "That wouldn't help," said the princess, "because as soon as you crossed swords with him, you'd turn to stone. Tomorrow the blue dog will come to remind me of my duty and take some of the palace servants back to the island. The servants will prepare Merrick's castle for my arrival." The other members of the party now rode up, and the princess dabbed her eyes with her handkerchief and pretended not to have been crying. As the prince and princess rode home, they were very sad. The iron boat arrived the next day, and the blue dog, who was bigger than a lion, went to the princess's palace and told her to get ready for the wedding. Then the princess told a dozen of her servants to follow the blue dog to Merrick's castle. The prince was one of these servants, but he was dressed as a kitchen boy, because he was determined to find a way to save the young princess from the evil wizard. The boat got close to the island, but there was no terrible whirlpool in the magical sea. The boat got to Merrick's castle. It was on top of a high, lonely rock where the waves of the underground ocean were always foaming and crashing against the steep sides. The prince took his place in the kitchen and looked for a way to stop Merrick and the princess from getting married. The poor prince was kept so busy baking and making pastries for the bride's arrival that for 4 days of the precious week he had no time to ask questions or do anything else. On the 5th day, early in the morning, there was a terrible moaning and roaring coming from the outside. The cooks ran to the kitchen windows. When the wind blew an unhappy fishing boat too close to Merrick's castle, a magical whirlpool formed and caught the boat in its terrible circle. Now it went slowly around the edge. Then it slid down the side of the terrible funnel, going faster and faster until it was gone. After a second, the whirlpool disappeared, leaving the sea to roar and foam. The prince shook with fear. "You should be scared," said the head cook, "because that's what would have happened to you if our master's brother hadn't been carrying the talisman that controls the whirlpool." "Talisman? What talisman?" said the prince, trying to sound stupid. "Why, the little golden hand, you fool," the head cook said. "My, it must take a big hand to calm that whirlpool down," the prince said. "Big indeed, you little brat," the cook snarled. "The magic hand is about the size of a baby's hand. I've seen it many times. The master puts it under his pillow at night and keeps it in his pocket during the day. So, when he was done with his work and everyone else had gone to bed, the prince tried to get to Merrick's room in order to steal the talisman. But when he got to the bottom of the stairs that led to the wizard's room, it was guarded by two big black panthers with red eyes that glared at him and swished their long tails. The prince went outside to see if there was a way to climb to Merrick's room along the outside wall. He saw that Merrick's windows looked out onto a cliff that dropped thousands of feet straight into the dark sea. The prince saw the glow of the Firefly's domain from a very long way away. He didn't have much time left to save his beloved lady. As he walked around feeling very sick, he saw a small black cat running back and forth along the edge of a steep cliff. A sad meowing kept coming from a crack in the cliff. The poor cat was a mother who was trying to get one of her kittens out from between the rocks. The brave prince climbed down the cliff at a great risk to himself and saved the kitten. He gave it back to the worried mother. The old cat said, "Thank you, brave young man. I hope that one day I can help you the way that you've helped me." "You can help me right now," the prince said. He told the cat who he was and why he was at the castle, and how he had to get the talisman. The cat said, "I'll help you get the talisman. Because they are my cousins, the panthers will let me pass, but you must make another little golden hand to replace the one I will steal. If Merrick doesn't find the golden hand, he will call on his demons to find it, and we will both die. Now, go to the kitchen and carve a small hand with the fingers close together and the thumb close to the fingers. Cover it with the gold dust that you use for pastry icings, and bring it to me at this exact time tomorrow night." So the prince spent the rest of the evening carving and gilding the little golden hand. The next night he gave it to the cat. The cat picked it up like a mouse, walked calmly past the panthers, and went to Merrick's room. When Merrick woke up, she had just gotten the true hand out from under the magician's pillow. The cat was smart enough to act like it was looking for mice, so the wizard didn't notice her and went back to sleep. But when Merrick's cat got back under his couch, the two hands were next to each other, and she couldn't remember which one was the talisman and which one was the false hand. So because she had to act quickly, she put one hand under the pillow and took the other to the prince, where she told him exactly what had happened. The little hands were so matched that even the prince wasn't sure he'd gotten his own back. On the 7th day, Merrick, the blue dog, and all of the evil wizard's friends were going to sail to the Firefly's domain for the wedding. The iron ship, which was decorated with 1,000 tiny red lanterns, was ready to take them across. The wizard and his group got on the ship, and it left the island. From the top of the cliffs, the prince watched the ship. What worry filled his heart! Merrick could safely cross the whirlpool and marry the beautiful princess if he still had the true talisman. The ship moved forward. It got farther away from the island. "It's all over," the prince thought as his heart sank. "Merrick has the true talisman." And he was so angry that he was about to throw the small gold hand into the sea. All of a sudden, there was a terrible moaning in the air. The sea got rough and the whirlpool woke up. The prince watched as the red lights on the wizard's ship went around and around faster and faster until they vanished forever into the dark sea. As for the prince, he quickly found another boat and went back to the Firefly's domain with the talisman, the other servants, and the black cat and her kittens. He married the princess, and together they lived happily ever after. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it filled you with a sense of sleepy calm. Spend a few moments listening to the waves and the crackling fire. Sweet dreams.